What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast, where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, we're going to give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and, well, anything about movies. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chase Lee, and hey guys, listen, if you were searching on the web for another movie podcast and you accidentally stumbled across this one, you came into our house just like an unwanted guest, we're going to love you. We're going to have you come in here and join the community because that's what we like to do. We like to talk about movies. We love movies. And we want you to love movies as well, especially if you are not a movie fan. That was my stomach. All right. Sorry for the extra background noise. All right. Anyways, if you're new to the show, welcome once again. If you're a returning listener, you guys are always awesome. What we typically do is we'll go over some movie news and some movie trailers that drop throughout the week and commentate on them for you guys. And then we will have a review of a movie or movies that drop on the weekend and box office results to accompany said movies. This is episode 220, and we're going to be going over Red Sparrow, the new Jennifer Lawrence movie, where she is not, Mother Nature, but another weird one for her. She's just she's taking a weird journey in her career. And then of course all the stuff on top of that as well with the news and trailers. But I'm not alone. I'm always joined by my co-host, my cohort, the Joel of Coplings. Joel, how are we doing this week?
I'm doing really well. I'm actually with you in the room today because I'm out here for our live broadcast of the Oscars tonight, and super excited to see those happen and to talk about this weird movie too. It's certainly a strange one. So
yeah, it's a strange one for being a blockbuster where it's like there were serious money put behind this, and you're like, this was released in theaters. But then again, Jennifer Lawrence was also in Mother, and I said the same thing. I was like, this was released in theaters. So Joel is here, and we're actually in the same room. You guys remember the top 10 episode? He was also in the room, but this is our first normal episode together. And hopefully, if we become big enough by the time we're 85 years old, we'll actually be in a studio where we can be in the same room, and that would probably be the tits, but money and the fact that we're not popular enough because no one really likes us. But anyways, let's get this started. We have a busy show, Joel, and of course we got the rest of our voices for tonight for the live Oscar coverage. So the first piece of news that I found interesting because he was in one of the most successful movies of 2017, and that movie got shut out by a lot of awards at the Oscars. That would be Logan, and it actually isn't anything about Hugh Jackman or Daphne Keane or Patrick Stewart. It's about the villain, which I would actually, it's one of the problems of Logan, but he's still good otherwise. Is Boyd Holbrook. And he do you remember the name in Logan that he played villain with?
No, but he was the main henchman to the villain.
Yeah.
He was the better villain, basically.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is what it is. He was in there, and, he's in a very successful movie done by Fox, so obviously he's going to want to stay in the family, so Fox is offering him to write and star in a movie called The Thirst. Now, we don't really know much about this movie or its plot synopsis, but it's more about Boyd Holbrook and his, talents. He's been in this business for a while. It's not like he's new or anything. So I am cool with this. And I think, being in something as successful as Logan is really going to propel his career even forward even more. Because when I was looking this guy up, I completely forgot some of the movies that he was in, whether it be Milk, Out of the Furnace, Run All Night, Gone Girl. It's like the guy is just it's all over the place. So, I mean, Joel, seeing him in movies throughout the years, and of course, just recently seeing him in Logan, would you want to see Boyd go from a supporting character to a main kind of lead?
Yeah, he's been an interesting actor for a while now, and it'll be interesting to see how he turns out to be as a writer and main star of a movie, because I don't think that's happened. I don't think he's been the main actor in a big movie for a major company like this. So I'm excited to see where he goes. I loved him in Out of the Furnace, and he wasn't a huge part of it, but everybody was great in that movie, and it certainly was a lot of fun in Logan. Really tore up the scenery, or chewed it up, or whatever the phrase is. So interested to see how this turns out and to see what it's about and all that. So
do you think if Boyd Holbrook is rejected by studios, he does his kind of little quiver and line read from Logan where he's like, no. You remember when X-23 burst out her claws and he's like, no. No, it was such a fun role, and I'm excited to see him kind of take, just anything on. It kind of reminds me of the story we did a couple weeks ago with Chadwick Boseman writing and starring in the movie. It's going to be done by Barry Jenkins. It just seems like, he's going to be projected to do some good things in his career. The next piece of news is, oh my God, what is happening in the world? So, Joel, this is your story. How are you going to even approach this?
Basically, Warner Brothers had decided a while ago to incorporate more comedy into the DCEU as it flails about and fails. And I think that the last movie that they're going to make in this universe is going to be Wonder Woman 2, which comes out in 2019. I think that they're going to literally, that's the last one, and then they're going to start over.
Joel has already planned their funeral. It's like, this is sadistic.
I will deliver their eulogy. It'll be drunken and mostly not about them. But anyway, so they are casting Kristen Wiig to be Cheetah, who is the main nemesis of Wonder Woman. Cheetah basically, Diana Prince upstages her at some event or something, and the amount of jealousy that the woman feels, I forgot her name, who becomes Cheetah, is so great that she gets this alter ego, supernatural, I guess, character named Cheetah. And so it'll be interesting to see how Kristen Wiig fits in this. Of course, she's only in talks right now, but it's serious talks. We haven't heard any rebuttals from her, so I assume that this is probably going to happen. And Chase is literally going through her filmography right now. They're mostly comedies, but pretty much any actor can work in any capacity if the timing is right and if the material is right. And I think that this could be very interesting casting for sure. We saw her in Mother, shooting people in the head, and we saw her. She had a brief role in The Martian, and so she's had she's touched drama before. But Skeleton Twins as well, where she played Bill Hader's twin. Primarily a serious movie, pretty good one too. And I think that this will be very interesting.
Yeah, she has the chops for dramatic work. I also saw this movie. I don't know. Did you see this one, Welcome to Me?
Oh yeah, Welcome to Me is great.
She's great in that movie. So that's what I'm saying. Don't count her out because she's a comedic goddess, because she is. She's really funny when she has the right material. But her being in a comic book movie might be a little too much. You know what I'm saying? Because it's high profile and she's got the Ghostbusters stank on her. She's got the bridesmaid on the kind of wider level. On the smaller level, she has the Skeleton Twins and the Welcome to Me, where you and I know that. Many people do not know that, so they just associate her with Ghostbusters and Bridesmaids, to where it's when you see her in Wonder Woman 2, it might take you out of the movie just a hair. But make no mistake about it, the whole argument here is, can she actually act? Yeah. She can.
It's a question of talent, and I think that she absolutely has the talent to be able to deliver in a role like this. She is gonna stick out a little bit in the history of the DCEU. We haven't had anybody who has her career in a role like that. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out, and how well she the chemistry, the hero villain chemistry with Gal Gadot is going to be very very interesting.
Well, and if Patty Jenkins is wanting her, do you really think? Honestly, think about this. Do you really think she would risk her career by wanting to cast her?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's really one of something like this is a make or break thing for a franchise. Of course, it's not for this one because, again, it's going to be their watery death.
It's going to die.
It's going to die after that movie. It's going to be very successful, and then they're going to start over. They're going to reboot, and that's what I suspect. I think that they're going to end off the decade with Wonder Woman 2, the follow up to their most successful, or one of their most successful movies, and then that's going to be it. I don't see them going much further. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know much about the character, but if anyone out there, I'm not gonna lie. At first, I kind of rolled my eyes because I was like, oh, Kristen Wiig, why? It's it's not because she doesn't have the talent. It's because this is a high profile movie, and I'm just like, can she fit that kind of villainy role? But I've seen worse, and I don't think she would be bad because there are a lot of careers that are at risk with this decision. So if they go this route, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Just a reminder that pretty much universally, we were all skeptical of Heath Ledger. It was not...
Michael Keaton.
And Michael Keaton, yeah. I mean, it was not especially Heath Ledger, people weren't expecting that. It wasn't because people didn't think he was a good actor. Obviously, he had just been nominated when... or I don't know if it was... I think it might have been before he was nominated, but it was around the time that Brokeback Mountain came out that it was announced that he was going to be playing the Joker, and then he was nominated. So the question wasn't talent, it was the idea that the guy from A Knight's Tale and the guy who was about to play a cowboy, just different roles than the Joker, very different. That everybody was skeptical about that, and then look what happened. So
yeah,
it's it could very, very easily work.
Yeah, you can't. I know we do it sometimes where it's like we see casting and we automatically think like, oh my god, the guy that was like in this raunchy comedy is going to be in this serious. Like, you have to take a step back.
Yeah.
And you've said it clearly on the show multiple times. The best dramatic actors are comedians.
Yes, they are, because they have to play with range, and people have to remember too when they think of Bridesmaids when it comes to Kristen Wiig is that there's a lot of good dramatic stuff that she had in there. It was primarily a comic role, but
and a co-writer, by the way,
and
so
she
understands
co-writer,
that.
so she obviously understands the balance, and I think that as an actress, I think she does too. We all think of her as SNL, but she's more than that, and I think that she'll be able to show that.
Yeah, so just people that are freaking out, just calm down a little bit. It's okay. Let's just see. But it is funny though, because Joel's correct. That whole franchise is going to have to be rebooted on its watery deathbed after Aquaman, with the water pun intended.
It's gonna fall down like who was it? I think Two-Face or something in Batman Forever. Just to use a DC Comics thing,
There you go. Joel always with the puns. All right, so the next story is we have some official stuff because we've been speculating for it seems like the past 5 years on it. But Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio are officially signed for the Quentin Tarantino Charles Manson pick, and we didn't really know what the title was, what it was going to be about. Now we actually have a title, and this sounds totally Quentin Tarantino-y. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Duh. I mean, you remember when his pal Robert Rodriguez did Once Upon a Time in Mexico? It's like the same type of thing. But
and that one was obviously anything that is Once Upon a Time in is a homage to Once Upon a Time in the West.
Correct.
Which is considered... I own it. I haven't seen it yet, but it's considered one of the great Westerns. Probably the greatest Western.
Well, and you know that Quentin Tarantino has an extreme hard-on for old Hollywood, so
does,
it's like...
And so it's the most generic title, but it's obviously...
It fits it, yeah.
It fits it, absolutely.
But, what do you think about the official casting now?
Oh, man. Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio haven't worked together, so it's going to be super interesting to see how I'm sure that they're friends. I'm sure that they know each other and have talked to each other, but they've never worked together in a movie.
We're bringing Django Unchained and Inglourious Basterds together.
Yes, exactly, and that's super exciting because Inglourious Basterds, man, best movie of 2009, and I love Django Unchained. I love Leo in that. So I'm super excited to see them deliver Tarantino dialogue together. It's gonna be crazy awesome. And,
do you think with them signing Pitt and DiCaprio, this is a for sure lock to get like a Cruise now and like Margot Robbie and like these other A-list people?
I'm really hoping that they cast Tom Cruise as Charles Manson, even if it's in like a cameo perspective,
supporting actor.
Yeah, basically because it's not about Manson. It's just takes place. It's Manson adjacent, if you will. Mm-hmm. It takes place during the period of time when the Sharon Tate murders were, those were happening or were about to happen, did happen. And I feel like, they should definitely get Margot Robbie for Sharon Tate. She looks something like her. So, certainly, even if they're in small roles, I have a feeling that this is not hugely about Sharon Tate either. I think that she would be in a supporting kind of context. But certainly they would be able to get her and Tom Cruise if they
from a business perspective, you and I mentioned this even before the Oscar nominations. Once she got nominated for I, Tonya, now the doors are open for her agent to go, okay, your next film needs to be Quentin Tarantino, so it can read in the trailer Academy Award nominee Margot Robbie. Yeah, it's a business move, and I'm totally down for that because she's talented. So, speaking of Ghostbusters, Joel, with my beautiful segues, Chris Hemsworth, I believe he is a funny guy, but he's in some of the worst comedies I've ever seen. So now that you hear what this piece of news is, like, what is it going to be like? Like, I mean, go ahead and tell the people like what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't see Vacation. I know that you love Vacation with every breath of your body.
Okay, there is a scene where Ed Helms and Christina Applegate and her family are swimming in a shit pool with needles, hypodermic needles, and shit, literal human shit. That's what that movie is.
I like how the studio comedy one-upped the scene in Saw 2 by adding a bunch of poop to the needles. That's great. But I know that he was, Chris Hemsworth was in it. He had his, member was very big, and I know that that's basically the whole joke of the character. He was literally the only for me. This is for me, and I'm not one of those weird, crazy people who thinks that inserting women into men's roles from the past is like some sacrilege on an original movie. I'm not a fan of the original Ghostbusters, so I had no real connection to the new one, and I hate the new one. The only thing that movie has going for it is Chris Hemsworth, who is funny. He takes that role, he plays it straight, but with a little bit of a wink, and I like that. So honestly, though, I think that by the law of relatives or the law of whatever, it's or the law of averages. That's what it is. Likely, his new project's going to be really bad, despite him. It's a Men in Black reboot. They're looking at him. I think that they're looking to cast a black woman and an old man in the movie, and of course, Tommy Lee and Big Willie, are not coming back to the movie, which I think is actually kind of okay. They ended off well on Men in Black 3, which I enjoyed much more than Men in Black 2. Not a fan of that one, but I like the first one and the third one, and I think that this has potential, but I'm really skeptical about all of this. Anyway, and it's weird that Chris Hemsworth is in this. I think that this might actually be, if it's going to be a series, I think that this confirms some very, very, heavily implied things about his character in The Last Avengers. This Last Avengers that is coming out in April, which we'll get to that in a second. But I think that this confirms that his character is not going to be in there for very long, because this is going to be a new series, and if he's possibly going to be in the first one as a lead, he's probably going to be in a series. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits in that. It's a different feel from the Avengers. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I honestly think they looked at Thor Ragnarok and this is primarily a comedy. He is funny in that movie. He's been funny in supporting roles. Damn it, let's just get him a comedy franchise. And he's got some of the best wit I have seen, kind of even in the Avengers group, or when he's in other movies. He's got better wit in Vacation than Ed Helms, Christina Applegate. When he's in Ghostbusters, better than Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy. It's the guy's on fire. He knows how to do it. And I hate the fact that Chris Hemsworth gets shafted all the time, because he's in great movies dramatically, like a Rush, or great in comedic movies like Ghostbusters, or great in his own franchise like Thor Ragnarok, but the guy just can't. Anytime when he's not in a Thor movie, his movies do not do well. Yeah. And I don't know what it is about Chris Hemsworth
I think that this will break that habit, because I think that people will look at Men in Black, and then they'll remember
the franchise.
They had some nostalgia for the franchise. Probably not for the second one, because the second one's pretty universally not very liked.
No.
But in any case, I think that people have, at least most people have, affection for the third one, and obviously everybody loves the first one. So, I think that it could work. I think that would break the cycle for him. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see it. It really depends on what I want them to do is, if they're going to cast a black woman, go with the younger one. Letitia Wright is straight off of Black Panther. Cast her. She was great. She proved herself as a comic actress in that thing.
Someone also mentioned Janelle Monáe from Hidden Figures.
Yeah,
she'd be really good.
That would be great. I think that either of those two, I think that those are probably my top choices, actually.
Yeah.
In terms of what I want to happen, and then I don't have any opinions on the old person that they're going to cast, but in any case, I'm certainly curious to see how this fits in today's film world, because it seems like very much a bit of an older franchise. It's weird to say that, but the first movie is 21 years old, so yeah.
Well, I have a suggestion, the old man. I think my girlfriend will agree. I think the old man in Men in Black should be Danny Glover in his terrible ADR from Proud Mary. That would be just absolutely wonderful. No, actually, don't do that. So, speaking of the Avengers, this is pretty exciting news. It kind of reminded me of the Cloverfield Paradox marketing. It was like, yo, bitches out there. Hey, here's our commercial, and boom, we're going to drop the movie after the game. All right, so here's what Disney decided to do. They decided to twist their nips on Twitter and, make them perky. And so here's what happened. The Avengers Twitter said, all right, May 4th, we're coming at you. Robert Downey Jr. replies below, come on, guys, can we have it a little sooner? And then the Avengers Twitter goes, bam, you get it a week early. So that is the news. The Avengers is now coming out April 27th. And no, I do not believe they just moved it just so they can put the A in the Avengers in the April word. That is not what they did. I have a couple of speculations as to why they did this. One, make more room between it and Deadpool 2. And then two, I believe they wanted to release it everywhere because what Marvel has done, they release it in foreign markets a week before it comes to us. And usually when people see it in foreign markets, they already know everything. Spoilers are online. I think there's a strong possibility they wanted to do this to avoid spoilers.
Yeah, I suspect that that's what happened here too. I think that they probably saw or guessed that something like that would be, would happen. And this is a huge movie. And so they don't want that to happen because all of it is about the surprise of, it's the payoff, or it's part one of the payoff. And yeah, certainly it was that. And it's interesting. Somebody pointed out on Twitter, it's so like Marvel to be able to move something this huge with this many moving parts and basically, barely bat an eye. They're so confident in the fact that this move won't affect their box office, and it won't because nothing opens otherwise on April 27th. Mm-hmm. It was completely empty except for that movie Disobedience, which I think that they honestly need to now move to May 4th. I think that they should move it a week later so that there's something in that first weekend of May. But certainly nobody's going to be worried about that. I mean, they're all going to be seeing Avengers again.
Well, because they already moved I Feel Pretty from April 27th to April 20th.
Yeah.
They've already
It may have been
scared
that
them.
You know what? I think it may have been that they heard whispers. It may have been that they moved it back a week. They're like, oh no, we've heard Disney is making a big move. It might be it might involve the Avengers. So yeah, I'm very excited to see it a week earlier. And it's actually cool because at my website, I'm going to be, for the next 8 weeks, reevaluating phases 1 and 2 on my website and re-reviewing them starting this next Friday. I've got ones. It's going to be each active year of phases 1 and 2, so that's 8 years, and so I'm going to have Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk next week, Iron Man 2 the following week, and so forth. And so it's kind of perfect because I will be able to end that for phase 2 on April 20th, and that'll be perfect timing for the following Friday when I drop my Avengers review. So,
well, Joel's already behind because my girlfriend and I are already on Guardians of the Galaxy, so you need to get on that shit. Yes. You are falling behind. Yeah, no, I'm excited to kind of rewatch them all before that exact moment. But I'm actually going to say this joke, and Joel's going to have no idea where I'm going with this. I believe when the Avengers, date change moved up a week. The only person that didn't really like it, I think, went on their Instagram account and posted pictures of their bloody knuckles because I think they were punching walls in anger, and that would be Dwayne Johnson because Rampage comes out a week before, and he realizes by week 2 his movie's done.
That would actually, this is going to sound insane, but that would actually be another good idea to have that happen, like move Rampage to May 4th. I understand that sounds insane because it comes out the week after.
Exactly.
But maybe, there's going to be some people who don't want to see Avengers again. They're going to want to see something else, and so it's
possible
would see Rampage. I think that it's a good move because that's wide open now. And it wouldn't really... I don't think something like Rampage is going to be affected by Deadpool. I don't think that the markets are the same there. Even if it's just a summer blockbuster, it's different summer blockbusters. So I think that it would be smart for someone to move into that spot, even if it's a week after Avengers, because now we have this 2-week kind of gap of you have Life of the Party, but you don't have anything in that weekend now.
Can you imagine? Because this would totally be their move. If Deadpool 2 was like, yo, we're just going to move out into May 4th now. That spot's wide open. I'd be like, holy shit, these guys are insane.
Well, it would be funny because they first, they first moved closer to Avengers. So
Correct.
if they did that, they could actually make a joke about how they're stalking Avengers.
That would be so great. It's perfect. It's perfect marketing. Like, get on that, Fox. You heard it here, folks, on this podcast. We recommend it, so there you go. But yeah, I'm super excited. I know the 3 people are in this room right now. We are super excited to see it a week early. I cannot wait. And the last piece of news, Joel, what is it? What is that dope director up to? Is he doing something pretty dope? There you go, folks. I'm done for the day.
Okay. I was gonna make a dope joke, but now I'm not going to.
Because I already jumped the shark on that one.
Yes, thank you, Chase. So yeah, he's doing very well to put Our Family Wedding well behind him. So he's taking on a graphic novel called Black Hole, which is about a group of teens who suddenly it's like a weird thing happens in a I guess a black hole. I'm not entirely sure. That they contract this STD. I don't know how that works. I don't know what the black hole is and what that means, if it's an STD and what that black hole is. In any case, they develop a bunch of weird mutations. So it sounds sort of like Power Rangers-ish with an STD element. Sounds super interesting to me. I think that this is fun material. I'm excited. I've never read the graphic novel, but yeah, I'm certainly excited to see this. And he's also got Son of Shaolin with Keanu Reeves coming. So 2 graphic novel adaptations. And yeah, excited to see both of them.
Well, and when you watch Dope, like, yes, it has the dramatic elements of that type of story, but it also has like kind of that fun comedic vibe to it. And if you can apply that type of fun energy to this STD type of Power Rangers movie, I think it could work. Like, yeah. I'm excited.
I wasn't huge on Dope, but it was definitely best as a comedy.
Yeah,
and he really does. I mean, except for Our Family Wedding, he has really good comic timing. And of course, nobody's seen Our Family Wedding or probably heard of it or anything, but that's
apparently you have.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's nothing but great news all around. Just because I was really impressed with Dope. That was the first thing I ever saw from that man. And I was actually really bummed when he got kicked off the Flash. But then again, Warner Brothers has got a bunch of problems over there, and they need to get their shit fixed. So, anyways, guys, that is the news. Please let us know down below what is your favorite piece of news. Joel, let's jump into some trailers because this has been a very, I'd say, indie heavy trailer week besides one of them, and I'm excited to introduce this first one called Yardie, and this was a Sundance selection. And you're probably thinking, like, why are we covering this? Like, what's so special about it? Well, I'll get there. So the story is based on a book from 1933 called Yardie, and the basic premise is this young man who committed a murder in his childhood is pretty much growing up and dealing with the fact that he murdered someone during his childhood. Now, it looks like a great movie. Mm-hmm. So you're probably thinking, like, okay, where's that hook, Joel? Where is that hook? Well, it is the directorial debut of none other than Idris Elba. And that's awesome. I'm glad that he seems like the type of dude, even when I saw him, like, way back in the day, I think the first thing I saw him in was in Thor in 2011, where I started to notice him.
That's where I know that he was obviously in The Wire and all that.
Like Luther and stuff.
Yeah. And I knew that he was in that, but the first thing that I really noticed him in, obviously The Office as well, because he had that small role, and I had seen that before before Thor, but certainly Thor kind of like, being part of the MCU kind of, certainly made him more of a household name.
Exactly. And he's just like Chris Hemsworth in the way where, like, he's always in movies, but, like, no one ever appreciates him. It's like he's always just like...
He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
It's like the only misstep I've ever seen from him, to be honest with you, was Dark Tower last year. But other than that...
I forgot until just now that he was in it. So because I forgot that movie.
All right. Let's go to that Dark Tower, y'all. All right, so... no, but Idris Elba, even when I saw him way back in the day, he always seemed like the type of actor... If I had to make a top 5 list, I was like... He is going to direct something at some point. At some point, he was going to tackle directorial duties, and this looks like a great one to tackle. I mean, this film has like this epic kind of vibe, with all within this neighborhood. It just has like this epic crime feel to it. It just looks like an engaging kind of suspenseful drama thriller. Like, I don't know what else to say. It looks really solid for a directorial debut.
It also has a really interesting visual, like, language going on that it's very elegant but also kind of gritty in a way. And I love that he's clearly learned from a lot of the directors that he's worked with.
The lighting's very vibrant.
Very vibrant, yeah. For a story like this, you could easily just do the grimy thing, but here it's really interesting. You think about like the moments where we see like shootouts occurring. It's a lot more. It's very different from what we're accustomed to, and I love that style. So
I think the only thing I'm disappointed in is that like when films are like South by and Sundance, like you hear buzz. I haven't heard anything about this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not usually worried about that, but it'll be interesting to see if it's one of those things that kind of comes out of nowhere. It certainly came out of nowhere for me because I didn't know about that it existed. Honestly, like I wasn't aware of it.
Well, see, I was following it ever since I heard about it in January. Okay. That hey, Idris Elba's directorial debut is at Sundance. Cool.
Did not even know that he had one coming up, and I'm very happy to see that because he's been a solid presence in front of the camera. Very excited to see what he does behind it. So, our next trailer is interesting. It's it's made for TV trailer. It's Fahrenheit 451, and this one is an adaptation, of course, of the Ray Bradbury novel
that we all had to read in school.
Yeah, except for me, because I went to not a public school, so they were. I don't think that they would have liked us reading this, but essentially, books have been outlawed in the future, and there's kind of a fight back against that, and it's very interesting. This one's got Michael B. Jordan, Michael Shannon, the two Michaels. The two Michaels, Jordan and Shannon. And also Sophia Boutella. We see her kind of briefly. Doesn't announce her name in the trailer, but we do see her. And this looks pretty stylish. It doesn't really... It's basically a tease. It's more of a tease than a trailer. It's just kind of introducing us to the concept, but we don't really get a sense of the plot. I haven't read it, so it's one of those classics that I missed out on because I didn't read it in high school and I didn't make it, a priority after that. So
it has a good look to it. It reminded me of like just some like dirty futuristic world, and I thought they captured. I
really like the
world
cinematography.
Yeah.
It's a very dank, dark world, and I'm a big fan of that. They're going to obviously use a lot of firelight, because books are being burned if they're found. So there's going to be a lot of that, and it's almost it seems like there's no daytime in this universe. So super excited for this. Super excited to see Jordan and Shannon together.
I know, right?
Work together.
What a weird combo. And cool. This is perfect timing for HBO because they knew they had this on their lap the entire time. Like, all right, let's see how well Black Panther does. And once it does well, we're going to drop this and go, look at Michael B. Jordan's next project. You see, he's in our movie now. So it's a game, and I realize
it'll certainly draw people to that
channel.
For
sure.
Yeah,
and I rarely ever let us talk about like TV movies, but first of all, it's HBO. They're more high quality. Second of all, it's got big name actors. And third of all, this is probably one of the most controversial books out there.
Yeah. It's one that a lot of times there are a lot of groups that want to ban this book.
Correct.
Because of how it is, like just how shocking it is, and it's a big one. So certainly very interesting. So Chase, bring us into the big one.
Oh
man.
One of the week. Oh man. All right. So it was 2012. And I remember I sat in a theater at 9:30 or like 10 p.m. It was like a late night show, right? And I watched the movie, and I was like, wow, Disney, you can have Pixar quiver in their boots from this movie and really scare the crap out of them and go, yeah, we're here to play. What is that movie? Wreck-It Ralph. And it was definitely one of my favorite movies of 2012, and I really enjoyed the short in front of it. I enjoyed the whole theater experience. Had some of the best voice casting I've heard since like Toy Story. I was like, this is such a great movie. It's charming, it's colorful, it's vibrant.
Sarah Silverman. So good.
I would even contend that like I never would have thought in a million years that John C. Reilly and the guy from 30 Rock
Jack. No. Is it another
Jack
guy?
McBrayer?
It's not Jack McBrayer. I don't think he's in it. I know that he's in 30 Rock. I don't know if he's in that movie. But
exactly. Well, anyways,
I totally forgot.
The voice casting of Ralph, Wreck-It Ralph, and Fix-It Felix, some of the best voice casting I've ever heard. It's actually like scarily perfect for those characters on with those voice actors. And of course, Jane Lynch plays herself as a commander, which is great because like her character in the movie looks like her. It's wonderful. Anyways, it's a very creative movie about arcade games and having Ralph be able to go to like the central hub and
it is Jack McBrayer.
Oh, Jack McBrayer. Okay.
Yeah.
And so basically, central hub, they can go in between video games. It's really fun. When I heard the sequel was coming out, I had no idea that it would be this much fun or even more fun than the first one. The sequel looks amazing. And I'm not going to lie, I haven't laughed hard in a trailer in a long time because I have a dark, damp soul. And so the end joke at the trailer with the whole bunny and the food and then the popping at the end with the kids screaming was genius. If you haven't seen the trailer, please watch this so you know what I'm talking about. But I was laughing. I felt like I got back into this world. Now, the only thing I've always hated about this sequel is that it took 6 years to come out. You should have came out with this earlier to strike on the popularity of this movie, but I'll take what I can get. But this is a perfect representation of what I thought a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph would be.
Same here. It's my favorite trailer of the week. It's so funny. I think that every second of this trailer works to sell this movie so well. And that last joke, I was almost crying laughing. It was so funny.
Look, because it was funny, and they kept amping up the humor. And the thing with the child at the end, it was like Bo in the present. Like it was so great.
And I love the first movie. I should have said that first. It's right outside, I think, my top 10 of that year, and it's certainly the one that I would have awarded of the. I think.
Please don't remind me.
I think that year, I think I've seen most of them. What was it that I hadn't seen? No, I think I've seen all of them from that year. And that was the one that I only like 2 of the nominees in the animated feature category. They awarded Brave because it's Pixar, but I wasn't a huge fan of that. And I think that Wreck-It Ralph should have taken
Oh, it was terrible. It's like when we watch the Oscars tonight, we know that Coco will win, and we're cool with that because Coco is great. Versus like Brave, where it's like not many people enjoyed that, and you're just giving it because of Pixar, and it's like, yo, did you not see Wreck-It Ralph? It is such a charming movie, and like it bugs me, but whatever. All right, so Joel, the next trailer, this is interesting. I've never really heard much about the Chupacabra legend, the monster or whatever. The next film is about the Chupacabra monster, right? Oh, it's not? Oh, okay. Okay. Can you describe to the folks, first of all, this insane, confusing title and what the movie's about?
So Chappaquiddick refers to the...
Pretty close to Chupacabra, by the way.
That is pretty close. Chappaquiddick refers to the bay in which an accident occurred when Ted Kennedy was driving along with, I believe, his mistress or something, and they crashed into the bay, and the mistress died. Mm-hmm. And so this movie stars Jason Clarke as Ted Kennedy. And it's going to be just basically bringing us through it. So it literally looks like a procedural to me.
Yeah.
Just step by step.
Like basically what Joel said, start to finish, is exactly what the movie.
Yeah, it's basically the movie gave away. I mean, the trailer gave away the movie, but of course, the movie gives away the story.
True.
If you don't know the story, then you're living under a rock. It's a really like sordid tale. It's very interesting. It's perfect for a movie. I'm surprised it hadn't happened before now. Or at least I don't think it's happened. Maybe it's happened for like an episode of something. I don't know. But certainly not in a movie form. But it has a really cool cast. Jason Clarke, Ed Helms in a dramatic role, taking on a northeastern accent. And
Kate Mara.
Kate Mara's in it as the mistress. Mm-hmm. And also Bruce Dern. I didn't recognize him until they said his name. Like at the end, it said Bruce Dern. I was like, I know that face.
Like, because he looked like the Six Flags guy.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he's a little. He's a little gaunt in this. I think that he probably shaved some of his hair. Yeah. And he's in a wheelchair in this. But yeah, it looks like a really solid movie. Not world changing or anything, but certainly going to be a solid representation of this story. and I'm excited to see it. It comes from Entertainment Studios Motion Pictures. I always just love saying that entirely.
I love it too because it's a scam business.
It's so weird.
They're embezzling money, I swear. No, that will always be my joke until the day they close doors. But no, this trailer looks solid. Like you said, there's nothing like groundbreaking about it, but the cast looks solid. The time period looks great. The costume looks great. The cinematography looks crisp. I mean, there's really nothing more bad to say. It's just
just looks like a solid product.
So
it's really good.
I have to ask you then, do you think the title and its kind of weird pronunciation and spelling is that going to turn off people from seeing it?
No, I don't think so, because the thing is about the story is that everything that people refer to this as the Chappaquiddick controversy or the Chappaquiddick death or whatever. They always refer to it as that. So I think that people will see that and say, "Oh, is that about Ted Kennedy?" And then they'll find out that it is. And I think that will tie together audiences to the movie, and I think that it works.
Okay,
so, but it may for some that are not familiar with the story, I guess. But
but that's far and few between. The whole Kennedy family, everyone knows.
Yeah,
that.
everybody knows everything.
You know every sibling, relative.
As soon as JFK died, that whole family was put into like
under a microscope.
Yeah,
almost,
because right now you got somebody who's a politician, Joe Kennedy III, who's the grandson of Robert Kennedy. And now he's possibly going to, run for president at some point, maybe in 2024, and he would certainly be a good candidate for that. And so you have this, the whole Kennedy family.
They're never not out of the spotlight.
They are never not out of the spotlight.
They are always like being examined by society, and that's just the way it goes.
Basically.
So I have a rule that I'm going to establish on the show. Anytime when Nicolas Cage comes out with a new movie every 3 days, Joel will talk about it. I don't want to talk about him anymore just because I want to see him squirm when he has to describe the plot synopsis. So that's what we're going to be doing right now. Joel, Nicolas Cage has had 24 movies come out this week, and now his 25th movie is going to be hitting VOD soon and probably at the nearest gas station on DVD. So what is it this time?
It's by far the worst and dumbest trailer of the week. It's such a stupid premise.
The title cards with the shimmer and like the grayness, we're Mad Max, man.
The way they quote unquote subtly date the movie by including a Donald Trump picture in this. In this, it's so funny. So anyway, the premise of this one is that in the year 2030, global warming has gotten to the point that people who are not productive are behaving illegally, and in this one, basically Nicolas Cage goes through Minority Report essentially because he becomes the one who's a target of the guy who's hunting him down. Now, there's one cool thing about this trailer, and this is a total nerd out for me because I'm a Degrassi fan. Degrassi fans out there, you're gonna have to think back. Okay, so somebody in this room is gonna go crazy right now. Somebody's in this movie. And you're going to have to remember this name, Albert Manning. And, so I had to look at that person. So, sorry. Albert Manning's in this. Really weird seeing him with no hair. Everybody who watches Degrassi, think back to the last name of that person. You will be like, oh my gosh. Because he was terrifying in Degrassi. 3 episodes, he was terrifying. Anyway. He's in this movie. That's literally the only thing that's good about this. That's cool or anything about this trailer. Looks like the most generically shot. It looks like it was shot for maybe $10. They got this.
It's grindhouse quality. Worse grindhouse.
They got this automated cinematographer, this robot to do the cinematography, and then they just fed him all of the commercials that have ever been made. And then the robot shot the movie. That's what it looks like to me. That's a weird analogy, but
okay, I have to interject, guys. This is breaking news. Joel's arm has changed color, and I do believe after reading that synopsis, he has skin cancer. I need to call the doctor. He has acquired some disease after reading such horridness. All right, here's the deal. We expect this from Nicolas Cage because it's Nicolas Cage. However, you're right. The way this looks, it reminded me of when he did Drive Angry, except worse than that. Where it was that was trying to be grindhouse. This is just cheap and lazy.
Yeah, at least Drive Angry had a sense of humor about the fact that it was trying to be grindhouse. It really wasn't. A lot of people consider it that, but it's really not. And I just and also the title, totally a ripoff of the Adjustment Bureau. Yeah, totally. And, the Humanity Bureau. What a stupid title. Sorry.
Listen,
I'm definitely reviewing this, by the way. I really want to watch
because you hate yourself.
Yes.
All right, so I hated the trailer, but the thing that got me the most, because I graduated with a degree in this stuff. Those title cards describing the movie were atrocious. They were like this weird gray that blended in with the black background, and they had like this chrome shimmer as if they're like, we're Mad Max, everyone. It's like, no, you're not.
It was the funniest looking font in the world.
It was cheap.
It
was cheap as shit. And so I was like, I'm done. Anyways, that's how we're going to end this trailer segment, guys. So what was your favorite? Obviously, Joel and I agree. It's Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet.
No, it's the Humanity Bureau. Are you kidding me?
No, it's not. That movie does not exist except for Joel and like the 3 other people in Michigan that will rent it on VOD that weekend. So there you go. And if you're listening from Michigan, I apologize for making fun of you for listening to terrible Nicolas Cage movies. All right, so that is it for the trailers. Guys, let's jump into the... Joel, I'm thinking that you should come over here more often. We're 45 minutes in. We're already getting to the movie review.
Yeah, it's insane.
I think we actually move quicker when we're together. So I'm going to have a Joel coming out to my house budget because this is actually way better.
Fun.
All right, so... The movie in question is Red Sparrow, and Joel is going to tell you guys who is in it, what it's about, what's going on. What the hell is going on with this movie?
Okay, so Red Sparrow is a completely normal movie. There's nothing strange about it at all. I'm kidding. All right, so this is the new movie from director Francis Lawrence, who, of course, did I Am Legend and 3 of the Hunger Games movies. And it stars Jennifer Lawrence, who is not related to him, and she plays a... ballet dancer named Dominica, who gets this really gruesome injury that's coordinated by 2 of her fellow dancers. And so after rehab, she has been approached by her pervy uncle, played by Matthias Schoenaerts. I looked up how to say that.
God bless you. I didn't want to say it.
Yeah. It's a hard one because the first time I saw it, I thought it was Matthias Schoenaerts. But
I'm gonna be a dumb white person. I'm gonna be like, the guy that played her uncle.
There we go. And basically, he has her stand in as the bait for a target of investigation by Russian intelligence, and that target rapes her, and she's given 2 options: as a witness to the murder, she can be killed, or she can be put into this school where she learns the art of seduction. So obviously, to use the kids' phrase of today, this movie is problematic. There's a lot of really weird stuff going on here. So I'm just going to say, I thought that this movie looked solid. I think that we talked about the trailer a while back, and, I thought it looked solid. I thought it looked like an involving, engrossing... kind of an engaging, espionage thriller. But there's a lot more going on here, and I can't say I'm a fan of this. I can't say that I'm a fan of this. So I'm going to send it over to Chase for his anticipation. There's really not much to say about the anticipation of this, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's the deal. It's like you said, when we covered the trailer looks solid. I was like, okay. And here's the deal, folks. I'm going to say this right now and put this to bed. I have no issue with Jennifer Lawrence at all. I don't know why people hate her so much. If you want to look at her just strictly for her talent, she's a talented actress. I don't care what you say.
And she's pretty good in this movie.
She's good in the movie. Yeah. And I think people just look at her antics like kind of like a Shia LaBeouf situation, like, oh, they're not talented.
And also she's connected to a YA franchise, which always, with the Hunger Games, which is actually, I think, one of the better YA franchises. And
the one that Francis Lawrence directed, with the first one, with Catching Fire, that was great.
That was the best
one out of the franchise.
Best one of the franchise, and it's a good one. And, I think that it's just because she's involved in a YA franchise, people look down on that because they always think of Twilight when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And, of course, now, Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart are ruling the indie world, essentially, alongside Daniel Radcliffe. Mm-hmm. And now we have Jennifer Lawrence. She's gone on to do these weird, idiosyncratic movies since ending.
She has an Oscar now, and
she has an Oscar.
Probably not for the right movie, but
she had an Oscar when she was starting out with the Hunger Games, and yet people still kind of look down on her, which I just don't get. I think that she's a really good talent, and I was the person who wanted her to win for American Hustle. I love her in that movie. I think that she's great, and I was happy to see her nominated for Joy. Honestly, I think that her work with David O. Russell is top notch. So, I think that she's good in this movie. It's the character that's the problem. It's not her.
Yeah, I think people just need to put the whole her antics to bed thing, because that does not equal her talents.
We need to get past this point of being like resentful of YA franchises. We're 3 years removed from the end of this one. If you didn't like it, fine, get over it. You know, you've grown up 3 years since then.
Well, and it's not only that. It's like, you know, people see her interviews and stuff, and she's very confident in herself.
She's not a usual interview. Like, she's not a usual interview. She is a bit of, like, she's an oddball when it comes to that. But I
don't find that to be... That's more of a publicist problem. That's not like a movie problem. That's like, I can care less.
I like her interviews. They're funny, and
they're more exciting than most people.
She's never fake.
Do you want to see Tommy Lee Jones going, the movie was great, I guess? Like, or you want to see Harrison Ford be a grump? Like, no, you don't. You want to see some excitement. Anyways, okay, so Joel and I don't know what we thought about the movie. Joel is not really a big fan. Joel, what was the rating that our friend Mark gave it?
Friend Mark Dusick gave it 3 stars. That would be an equivalent of a B or B minus from us.
I agree with him.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of good here, but there is a lot of kind of like off-putting, kind of weird editing choices, and definitely character decisions that, you know, don't really hit with me, and that's why I have to dip it down. But I still think, you know, look-wise, acting, overall engaging, even though it is a little slow sometimes, I still think it's one of those movies that you go to the theater for, you watch, you're like, that was solid. I'm never going to watch that again, which I'm fine with. Like, it was fine for the moment that we were in. So would you like to start with the positives and negatives first?
Positives, since it's a negative review for me. So, and then we can move to your negatives, I guess.
Okay.
All right, so my positives are definitely, you know, I'm going to start with Jennifer Lawrence. I think that she's very solid here. She's kind of nailed down this ability to convey a lot through not actually, like, having to say anything.
Correct.
Which is, or even move her face a lot. You know, she's kind of got that, you know, deadpan thing down. And, you know, here it's very much an emotionally charged role, considering what happens to the character and all of that, and she's good. I will also say that it's very, like, well made. It's a sleek movie. Good cinematography. I don't know who did the cinematography, but whoever it was, you know, did a solid job. I think it's well edited, and I think that the performances, other than Lawrence's, are solid. Like, using the word solid a lot here, but it's a well oiled machine. Yeah. I will say. And I think that there's a lot of potential in the weirder elements of this story involving it's very much a study in the dynamics of power and sex, and within the world of espionage. I think that that's a very interesting route to go down. That's basically it. I mean, it sounds like there's not a lot, but there's a lot there. I just can't get into it without going into spoilers, honestly. Like, some of the better parts of this movie are, I think, near the end, despite the character. And I'm going to get to the character of Dominica in a second, but in my negatives. But I think, actually, my favorite parts of this movie involve Joel Edgerton's character. He plays Nate Nash, who's a CIA agent. The plot involves an affair that has to do with, like, basically there's a mole in the Russian government, an affair involving a U.S. senator's chief of staff, involves a lot of leverage to that point. And I think that that's actually fairly interesting. It's like something out of a Bourne movie or whatever. And I think that his storyline was more intriguing than Jennifer Lawrence's. Way more. Yeah. And I think that it's because there's not really development of his character, but I think that the character remains pretty consistently. Everyone actually intriguing. Remains pretty mysterious. There's really honestly no development. I think that the exception to that in the negative term is the character of Dominica, but I'm going to get to that in a second. But yes, I think that you're right. Everybody else is kind of a cog in the machine, and I think that that's fine because it's an espionage movie. That's going to be the case. We're never going to really know a lot about the supporting characters in an espionage story. They're always cogs in the machine. Nate Nash is no different, and I think that Edgerton is good here. And I also liked his boss, Sakina Jaffrey, she's played by Sakina Jaffrey. She's been a pretty solid presence on. There's a show that is sadly short-lived. It only had one season, Timeless. that played on Fox last year, and she was in that, and she had kind of a similar role. She was a head of a government organization involved in, investigating things, and I think she kind of got that role down pat. I also liked, I liked Matthias Schoenaerts. I thought that he was good as the pervy uncle. There's a lot to that character, but yeah, I mean, so the outward elements of the movie are satisfactory enough. I think it's with a lot of the other things that I can't quite recommend this, but yeah. So that's pretty much my positives.
So I'm starting with negatives, right?
Yes.
Okay, so my negatives, they're kind of minimal for me because most of all, like, this movie is like a solid, like, one-time, I would even say just rental movie, and there's really, it's kind of just, hey, it's there type of deal. But the things I noticed were, I guess one thing that didn't bug me as much, but it's just kind of a nitpick, her accent does kind of go in and out sometimes.
No. I completely disagree with that. I think that actually it's kind of a perfect regional accent. She worked tirelessly with the vocal coach. I know. For months on end, she learned that, and she learned how to dance, actually, too.
Maybe it was just me, but, like, when I noticed, like, when she would get upset in the movie, it kind of went out just a hair, to where I was like, because that's a lot more different than when you're, like, if Joel and I are just speaking, just clear dialogue, the accent can be there, but, like, if I start, like, getting angry at you, you might be a little flustered in your accent.
That's gonna happen to anybody, though.
That's true.
And I think that, generally speaking, like, for instance, if I'm friends with somebody I used to work with her at Target. Well, I guess I won't say her name, but anyway, I used to work with her at Target, and she is French-Canadian by birth, and she was born in Canada. She speaks French, and she speaks with a slight French accent that gets more and gets heavier and heavier when she's tired. I don't know, if she even ever gets mad, but I haven't heard that, but I know that from her own experience that whenever she gets tired, her accent gets heavier, and whenever she's not tired, it's more American. There's a little bit of an, fluctuation there, but even when she's not tired. But when she's tired, it pretty much comes out. You can hear it, and I think that that's pretty much the norm when you are just regularly speaking, when you're awake and alert. Then your mind just kind of automatically says, this is the accent I want you to speak with. Yeah. But when you're angry, when that part of your brain is kind of disconnected, that's when it is. So it's going to happen to anybody, especially if you're faking an accent. Yeah. And I think that so I did kind of notice that, but I was able to overlook it.
Like I said, that's more of a nitpick for me. Yeah. I mean, when
she's regularly speaking, it's perfect.
Yeah, when she's regularly speaking, I believed it. Like I didn't even think it was Jennifer Lawrence at some parts. I was like, cool. It's this Dominique person. There are a couple things that aren't really like hindering on my grade per se, but I guess that's why I'm dipping. I have no idea what I'm saying. It's really hard to like dance around like the plot and stuff, but there's a couple of edits in the movie that were extremely jarring with some violent scenes. And if you know what I'm talking about, where like the story will go, it will cut to her doing something violent and then cut immediately to time passing forward. And I'm like, well, that was kind of abrupt and jarring. Like, I understand why it was there, but sometimes when the edit would do that and it would switch from one location, something violent and kind of like in your face, and then it jumps ahead like a couple hours in time or a couple days in time, you're like, that seemed kind of quick, you know what I'm saying? And so there were a couple things like that I noticed that were edited quickly and jarring to where there wasn't like any type of weight besides the shock factor to it with the violence. So I noticed that on a couple of the violent scenes. I thought the beginning was a little rush, just a hair where it was like, hey, she's dancer, mom, problems, and then she jumps into the school.
It does rush into her whole, like, it does
setup, basically. And then I guess the last major thing, I wish there was more development and more scenes. Now, I know the movie's 2 hours and, 10, 15 minutes long?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. It's already long enough. I kind of wish I wanted to see more with Mary Louise Parker's character. And
she is great.
She's really great, but she's only in like one scene with dialogue.
I should have mentioned that as a positive. She is in this movie for I think 2 scenes. Well, no, 1 scene. It is 1 scene. Right?
Bar room.
Yeah, she's barely in the bar scene, and then there's a scene in a room, and
which was great.
It's great. She is absolutely electrifying in that scene. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I won't.
Well, because the problem is when you're doing these like cat and mouse movies, you want to show equal time to the cat and the mouse. If you just show it all with the cat and nothing with the mouse,
it did kind of ignore that part.
Yeah.
Particularly for the fact that we're following Dominica, but I would actually like to see like an alternate take on this movie, like an alternate version of this movie that follows Nate Nash's character. His perspective of the whole thing. Even though we get a lot of it here, we don't get as much of it as we do of Dominica's.
Correct.
And then I would love to see on her side of it, this character that Mary Louise Parker plays. I would love to see that too. Even though
it was like it was just so weird because like she was great, but we got little of her, and I felt the same way with her mom, Dominique's mom. Yes. Because the thing is, like, they set up this movie and go, all right, we're gonna go do this for your mom. And then her mom's gone for 50 minutes, and you're like, I completely forgot she was doing that. So,
and it's sad because Jolie Richardson plays her mother. Really good performance too.
It's a good performance. They needed more emotional meat.
It was to the point where in my written review, I don't even mention the mother because
there's a certain time in the movie where she's gone for a long time.
She's gone for so long that
you forget.
It ultimately becomes not even about the mother; it just becomes about itself.
About itself, yeah.
Yeah, and
that's what I found irritating is that they set the movie up with her as like, I'm doing this for you, Mom, and then she's just forgotten about it for an hour.
Yeah,
it's like, basically, what the hell? So
it does kind of interrupt the whole development process of that.
And that's why I'm dipping my grade down is for because those two characters in general are very important to the story. And I don't know where you could shave it off, but you needed more of them.
I'd say even go longer. Honestly, I don't mind longer.
I wouldn't mind longer. Yeah,
I mean, I'm like Siskel. I get excited when
I felt the same way about Jeremy Irons too.
Yeah,
he felt like,
really
hey,
good.
I'm here. Exposition, bye. Like he just kind of like floats off into the distance. Like, well, what the hell? Like,
there's a lot of interesting elements to that character too.
There just need to be more.
Yeah, we can't go into anything there, but it's a well acted. I really should have mentioned Mary Louise Parker, but of course I'm trying to dance around things.
I know.
Even mentioning her, like people are like, "Oh, who does she play?" Don't find out who she plays. If you're going to see this movie,
we didn't spoil anything. Like she's in it, but we're not going to tell you like what she does.
We're not going to tell you who she is. I mentioned that who she played in my written review because it's kind of unmissable. But here I can choose and I can say, don't look up who she plays in here because she's important.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it with my negatives.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to go into my my negatives now. So, all right. The character of Dominica. All right. Here's the problem with her. Usually, in a normal movie, one that's not about an espionage, case of espionage, we find out most of what we need to know about a character at the end of the movie. Usually, right? Espionage movies are a little bit different because what you can do is you can put all that you know about the character at the beginning, and it's fine. But here they do that way too literally because everything that's like relevant to know about this character we find out at the beginning, and then the movie slowly strips away her identity, and she becomes, I think, kind of a one-note bore. And that's despite the fact that Jennifer Lawrence is so good.
The movie's more interesting about every side character.
Everybody else.
Joel Edgerton, the uncle,
yes.
Everyone.
Everyone else is more interesting than her by the end of this movie. Because by the end of this movie, she's basically, without giving anything away, she's essentially become a cog in the system. Mm-hmm. And I mean that in every sense of the word, is that she becomes a nobody.
Yep. And she's the main character we're supposed to follow.
Yeah, she's the main character. We're supposed to rally behind this character, and we ultimately aren't allowed to really know her. Mm-hmm. And only at the beginning do we get a sense of her, and even then she's hiding so much about herself that she's kind of a blank slate when she enters.
Mysterious. It's like,
yes,
tell us something.
Yeah, exactly. She's just so strange. So then, all right, as interesting as the dynamic involving, the sex and power in this movie is, I do not like the scenes involving the school. I think that there's so much, like, rape plays a part. First of all, it's very cheap to do this. To have rape be like this weird, like, drama thing. Maybe an inciting incident, but just like a plot point in something like this feels a little bit like it's a bit of a cheap manipulation. Right?
It also might be bad timing too, because this could be the book, and like this is not the book's fault that it was written so long ago, and now we're in this kind of different culture now.
Yeah. Now that there's the Me Too and Time's Up movements, it comes across as bad timing. I don't know what they would have done to change that, because it's
Death
gonna,
Wish. This whole weekend was just bad timing.
Exactly, Death Wish with the whole fight people in the hood thing. It's I didn't see it. I don't have any plans to, but it just kind of comes across as cheap manipulation, and it usually comes across as that. I mean, unless it's the inciting incident of the plot, then other than that, it just comes across as cheap to me. And here, you see these lessons, I'll call them lessons, at this school are all about that. They're all about the fact that there's this interesting dynamic of sex and power, and she's like, the response to the fact that she's raped by the intelligence agents makes sense, but none of the stuff in the school to me felt like it was furthering anything. It felt like it was just putting her through the ringer to strip away her identity. It was literally the plot device that made her less interesting. And
it was sexual embarrassment, it didn't feel like it was empowering any characters or strengthening any characters. It felt more awkward
until she takes the power back in some way. But
Correct.
That's so inevitable. It was going to happen. And
it just felt really awkward and kind of unnecessary for the story.
Yeah, I mean, if you had like a quick montage of it or something, but we spend a good 30 minutes at that place, and it lengthens the movie out, and it's just unnecessary. And so that's my biggest negative here.
You could easily do like what you said, like either a montage or like Charlotte Rampling in front of the class going sexual empowerment, and then just move on. Like we know what that is.
Or one scene, like perhaps again, rape comes back into the story in a way that is completely unnecessary. Completely. Like, even if the first one is unnecessary, this one is like a whole other level where it didn't need to show us that. It can just tell us. We could get the point. Like, the response from the intelligence agents to her first rape in this movie, first successful rape. The second one isn't. But anyway, the rape element. The first time rape is introduced in this, we get the point. And then you introduce the second time. It's just so cheap. And so that's my big negative here, is that they have this interesting idea, but they go way too far into the literalization of that idea.
Yeah.
And they give us too much of that aspect, and it just comes across as lazy to me. Lazy and lengthening of the movie. And it just, that's my biggest negative. Obviously, like you, I guess we could get more about the side characters, but I think that that's how they operate in these movies, is kind of as unknowns. So I didn't mind that as much, but it is a thought.
But it was different in this one because we felt more compelled by the side characters than actually her side. That's why I was so angry. I was like, I want to see more of the mom. I want her
to be a supporting character in this story. Yeah. I want her to be kind of this
fly on the wall type of deal where like she's witnessing everything else.
Yeah, I mean, she's a device in the movie, but I don't think that really she deserved a movie about her. And I said in my review, literally, her development process moves backward instead of forward, and that's a hugely limiting factor to the screenplay. And so, that's basically my negatives. I think it's well made, but I think that it's a bit misguided, both in the fact that it takes this power dynamic way too literally and gives us too much of a study of that doesn't really have any insight. And then also, this character is just a one note. There's no movement there to speak of. In fact, there's movement backward. And so, that's why I guess I'll just go ahead and give my final grade. There's really not much else to talk about with this movie, to be completely honest. And I'll let you do your positives, but my grade is a C+. I can't go lower than that because it's well made, but I can't really go higher than that because there's limitations. So go ahead, Chase, with your positives and final grade.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good looking movie. The cinematography is crisp. I do like the kind of city element to it. It feels like this big wide world that these characters are kind of playing in, and I kind of enjoyed that. And that has to do with Francis Lawrence's part with the direction. I thought he captured like this cold Russian spy espionage movie. it felt...
This is more of a failure of Justin Haith, who wrote the screenplay.
True, yeah.
And, yeah, for sure.
On a technical level, besides the screenplay writing, it's a good movie. It's solid. It's solid work, and, he does a good job. I also commend Jennifer Lawrence for pretty much going out there on this movie, because, like, she does get down and dirty. And, she's always, like we said in the beginning, she's a very confident, free-loving individual, and I love that about her. Like, she's willing to just kind of go all in, and she does. She goes all in. It's probably one of her most adult roles that she's done, which is great.
And her most adult role.
Probably the most adult. And the acting is great all around. Like, I like everyone. It's just, this is more, like you said, screenplay work and character work than anything else. So acting great, direction is pretty great, cinematography is great. Now, a lot of people are complaining about the slow nature of this movie. I will tell you right now, I actually enjoyed this movie more when it was dialogue driven rather than action driven, because there's rarely any action scenes in this. It's like, it's more just kind of like hostile violence.
That is a solid decision, because they could easily have just gone for the action.
Yeah, and so
there's no gun action.
No, there really isn't, except for like the very end, maybe.
Yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. There's a little bit, but other than that, I mean, it's all other kinds of weapons.
Yeah, it's
more
very
it's brutal, and it's actually honestly gratuitously brutal. To me.
It
gets a little too much.
I think it's a pairing. The sex and the violence both are gratuitous when they don't really have to be.
Yeah.
And, I don't mind that they went there, because I'm not like a prude or anything. I'm like saying, oh, God, the violence, I'm taking it out of the movie. It's like, they could have done the violence. It's just, didn't really have to show up that graphic, because the movie didn't really warrant it, because, once again, with my two problems in the editing choices and my negatives, those violent scenes were violent as hell. I'm like, guys, we get it. She's hitting people. Like, we don't have to, like, show, like, faces getting ripped off or, like, limbs bending backwards. It's like, this movie doesn't call for that.
Yeah. We didn't need the torture scene involving the skin grab.
That would make you shudder. But, besides that, I enjoyed the movie more on the espionage front rather than the thriller front.
Okay.
Because when people think of like thrillers, they think, oh, action, Jason Bourne. It's like, no, this is more of like a cat and mouse, like, I'm going to mess you up psychologically type of movie. Not psychologically for us, the audience, but psychologically for the characters within each other. So I want people to know that going in, the pace of it didn't bother me. I liked the slow burn of it. And at the very end, I was like, oh, cool. Neat twist. I'm going home now. I actually had to go to the bathroom like really bad afterwards. So I was like, cool twist, movie, so. But goodbye. And so I like the twist. It's whatever. It's a solid thriller that plays more on the espionage front. So just know that going in, the pace did not bother me. And this might make some people mad that really love this movie. I don't even think this is a matinee movie. This is a perfectly good rental, and I would give this, I'm going to go a little higher than Joel, a B-, just because Jennifer Lawrence does give a really great performance. I do like some of the story elements, and it is a crisp, clean movie, and that's why I'll give it a B-.
So essentially there's like a fence, and we're standing on like right on the opposite sides of it facing each other.
So I'm more of on Mark's side. You're just a hair below us. Yeah. So it's not like we're completely off.
It came close to me recommending it. I couldn't quite get there, but I felt like I ultimately closed my hand on air a bit. But there's definitely things that I like in it.
Would you say it's like a good rental?
Yeah. I think that if, especially on Blu-ray, if you go to like an actual store and try to, they are still out there. Try to rent it. You're gonna get some eye candy. So yeah.
Yeah. No. It. I wouldn't, even with my my slightly higher grade, I still wouldn't recommend it for theaters. Like, just wait for it on rental. It's not a big deal.
Necessary.
But speaking of Red Sparrow, let's talk about some box office. Yeah. And I'm really excited because guess what? We're not going to guess. I'm just going to throw it up there.
Yeah, because I'm sitting right here. I can't really guess.
Joel, guess. I'm going to put my hand on the computer screen. This is actually pretty good for the new releases, even with their controversial subject matter. That's pretty much it. All right. So number 5, we have Peter Rabbit. It's hanging in there. God bless it. Little Peter Rabbit doing his thing. It made $10 million this weekend on a budget of $50 million. Worldwide, it's at 101. It's just now breaking even, but it's like what I was telling Joel a couple weeks back. This is a perfect airplane movie, kid movie, rental movie.
It's going to do so well on streaming, rentals, everything. They're probably least worried about their theater intake.
But the fact they made over $100 million is
good.
awesome.
That's good for them. I mean, like I say, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I've heard it's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
and I'm definitely going to rent this. From my work, and
you're going to do a Peter Rabbit and Paddington 2 double feature. So you're going to get Talking Bear and Talking Bunny action, and Joel's going to be like so mentally destroyed. Like I'm gonna have to like enter him in a mental asylum. Like he'll be like, Talking Rabbit, Talking Bear, Talking Rat. It's like, geez, Joel, get back in the real world. All right, so number 4 is Game Night with 10.7 million. It's doing somewhat well, but once again, Game Night's kind of like a Peter Rabbit situation where it's going to do well in planes, it's going to do well in streaming. Budget is 37, worldwide it's at 49. It's not doing hot right now because to break even, we're looking at almost damn near $100 million when all is said and done. It'll do fine. I'm not worried about it. Number 3, a new release. We have Death Wish Remake with 13 million. Which is actually really good. I thought that movie wouldn't make any more than 5.
Yeah, I didn't think it would. I didn't think it would make the top 5. To be completely honest, I didn't foresee this.
I was shocked because I think people are getting sick and tired of Bruce Willis sleepwalking. And its budget is 30 million, which is extremely high for that type of movie because it just seemed very basic. What the hell did they spend the money on?
Probably Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Bruce Willis. I'm gonna cost 29 million. You guys can all split.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure his is $1 million a day.
Yeah.
So, however long this took...
30 days.
Yeah, 30 days, exactly.
Took a month. So, yeah, it is what it is. I don't really care to see it, but, to break even, 75, 80 million, I would say, and it'll be fine. It's going to have a cult audience just like the original did. Number 2 is Red Sparrow, the new one, with Jennifer Lawrence, 17 million, which is pretty good. And it tells me right there that it doesn't matter what you say about her antics outside of her work, she is still a movie star because... it opened up in foreign territories as well with 43 million total on opening weekend. That's actually really good. Its budget 69. Doubling that with marking 160, 175 roughly because they marketed this one pretty heavily and it'll do fine. But it needs to get its money quick before, especially A Wrinkle in Time coming out next weekend and stuff. Yeah. And number 1 is definitely The Greatest Showman. No, I'm just kidding. It's Jumanji. No, I'm just kidding. It's 50 Shades Free. No, I'm just kidding. It's Black Panther. You guys know. All right, 65 million. It only dropped 41%. That is impressive. Right now, domestically, Black Panther has 501 million, and worldwide it's three shy from 900. There's nothing more to say. It's going to be the top.
Totally and completely failed at the box office. Death to Black Panther. I'm kidding.
Good Lord. It's insane. But
I wouldn't be surprised if this does better than Avengers Infinity War. Like, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. We were talking about this last week. It might be the biggest, spender in terms of this year. And
it only has, I think 120 million to go before it beats the original Avengers as the top grossing one domestically. So... keep doing your thing, Disney.
I'm very happy about it.
Yeah. God, that movie's just crushing it. Anyways, some of the kind of positive surpluses I've seen. Oscar season is around the corner, and so Call Me by Your Name went up 75%. That's pretty good. Shape of Water almost 20. What was that?
That's basically it.
Okay, yeah, that's basically it.
Everything else dropped, but that's involved in the Oscars.
Look at your favorite drop.
Oh, yeah.
Jumanji only dropped 20 more percent. That thing is holding in there. That thing is like a tumor.
Y'all are not listening to me.
So is this one.
Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman's also hanging there like a damn tumor. Are you serious? These movies have been out since December.
Now, awesome news for Fox Searchlight and Neon is that 3 Billboards and I, Tonya only dropped basically 2% and 4%.
Isn't that great? It's awesome. So, the Oscars are tonight. And speaking of that, that is the end of this show for episode 220. Before we get into next week's topic, just a reminder, later on tonight, Joel and I will be joined by Terrence, and we will be covering the Oscars live. Our voices will be hoarse, they will be dead, and we'll be bleeding, and my girlfriend will call the ambulance. Actually, she'll let me die first and save Joel. So that is what's going to happen tonight. I cannot wait, and they just high-fived. All right. So, Joel, what are we doing for episode 221?
So next week, the main review of topic is going to be A Wrinkle in Time. I can't wait for that movie. It looks so good. Great to see Ava DuVernay breaking into blockbusters. And then I'm going to be offering an extra review of the Hurricane Heist. I'm just kidding. The Strangers Prey at Night. I'm so excited for that. I just revisited The Strangers last night. Probably in my top 10 of 2008. So good. And I can't wait to see the new one. So, very excited.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I we're seeing Strangers 2 on Wednesday, so that's what we're doing. And then I'll catch A Wrinkle in Time as well. So, yeah, next weekend will be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about a kids movie and a really violent or a horror movie, so that'll be fun.
Totally the same thing.
Exactly. So yeah, that will be next week for 221, and of course the Oscar episode is tonight. Check it out. Before we wrap up here, Joel, where can the people find you online?
All right, so you can follow me on Twitter at Real Joel Copling. That's REEL Joel Copling, and then on Letterboxd at J Copling. And you can also find some of my writing at Dallas Movie Screenings. I think I've got couple of them coming up this month. And then JoelOnFilm.com. I only ended up reviewing Red Sparrow this weekend. It was kind of a sleepy week for me. I was very tired all week. And also there were a bunch of podcasts that I had to do. And just anyway, Red Sparrow was the only one that I had to review. But keep an eye out because, again, next weekend is when my Marvel kind of reevaluation starts with Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Real Chasely. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to get other reviews that I won't do on this podcast. And speaking of the podcast, we're on iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud. We are just everywhere, including Spreaker, the site that I host it from. But yeah, please spread it around. Let people know this is the definitive movie podcast. I'm Chase Lee, and this is Joel over here. And hey, listen, if you made it through this entire movie podcast and you're not a movie fan, well, hopefully we convinced you to be one. And hey, listen, if you actually like the fact that we went under an hour and a half, then we are going to set up a Patreon really quick. You're going to fund Joel's traveling fee, and he's going to come out here every single Sunday because that was kind of impressive.
Yes,
so
that was very impressive.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. But yeah, hopefully we convinced you guys to be movie fans. Come stick around. You guys are badass.
Bye-bye.
Oh. Okay, never mind. We're not doing the same room again.
Okay, how about this? If you want to be a movie fan, I was just trying to imitate Chase.
Yeah, Joel's here all day, so he shouldn't be making fun of me. All right, so we'll see you guys next week. Let's play the outro music. All the links in the description below. Bye-bye.
Bye.